What up, Bugles? I want to welcome you to this video and to our comicsbugle channel, your go-to spot for everything omnibus and oversize. Oh yeah, X-Men fans are eating well this month, and now we have here another X-Men book. And yes, I'm talking about all new X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus. The cover price is 125 USD and the book has 1048 pages. Since this is a writer-centric omnibus, we get a complete all-new X-Men series written by Brian Michael Bendis, plus 2 issues from the crossover with Guardians of the Galaxy. The only issues missing are all new X-Men issues 16 and 17, which are part of the Battle of the Atom event. Don't be sad though, these will be included in the Uncanny X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus coming this November. From Marvel's side, this is an interesting choice, but the important thing is that it helps avoid double dipping, which is always nice, at least for those of us who plan to get both omnibuses. The book comes in 2 cover variants, and I went for the dire market cover by the legendary and unmistakable Alex Ross. When it comes to his work, words are unnecessary. You can see for yourself it's a true work of art. The standard cover is by Stuart Immonen, whose work I also love. Unlike Ross' super realistic style, Immonen represents a more classic comic book look. I'll admit, in the stories themselves, I tend to prefer the classic style, but when it comes to covers, if you can pick something by Ross, there's nothing to think about. The back cover features a group illustration of our beloved mutants, and on the left side, under the book's logo and the phrase, "Yesterday's X-Men, today," you will find a short plot summary along with the usual list of issues collected in the book and the creators who work on them. Now let's check out the spine. Under the Marvel Omnibus logo, we have the title and book logo, and at the very bottom there's a small illustration. The boards are absolutely phenomenal and breathtaking. I love them so much. We get Jean Grey in a telepathic trance, with a background showing her reliving the most powerful moments of her life. Opening the book, we are greeted by a classic opening page featuring an illustration of the young X-Men in the middle of modern-day Times Square. Then we have the table of contents / credit page listing all the talented artists who contribute to the different chapters, and there are quite a few. Before diving into the stories, there's also a quick recap of previous events so we know exactly where our beloved mutants and the whole Marvel Universe are at this point. In the wake of Avengers vs. X-Men, Cyclops, now a divisive revolutionary, has fractured the mutant community. Faced with a movement he barely recognized, a Henry McCoy breaks the universe's most sacred rule. He time-breaks the original 5 X-Men, aka 05, Teenage Cyclops, Myra Girl, aka Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, and Angel, from the Silver Age past into the complicated now, to confront what Scott Summers has become and perhaps alter the course of mutant history. Bendis leverages the premise to ask questions that the X-Men, as a concept, hadn't confronted with such a directness in years. What happens when legends meet their legacy? Do people actually change when shown an unflattering mirror? If destiny appears fixed, can characters still be a choice? By avoiding time travel technobabble and focusing relentlessly on character reaction, shock, shame, defiance, wonder, the run makes a continuity gamble feel intimate rather than abstract. The opening arc reads like a controlled explosion. Wolverine as a weary headmaster, Kitty Pryde as a shell-shocked but inflicting mentor, and teenage Scott having to look his older self in the eye are all instantly compelling. The early issues are also smart about spectacle. Time-displaced kids versus modern sentinels isn't just an action beat. It's a proof that the 05 can still be the X-Men. After first 5 issues, the book settles into its core rhythm. Each issue advances a collective identity crisis while zooming in on one or two characters. Iceman's humor isn't just comic relief, it's an avoidance mechanism. B's hubris shifts from a mad scientist to existential panic as his body mutates again. Angel's serenity dissolves into terror when he discovers his present self is a blank-eyed amnesiac with metallic wings. And teenage Jane, thrust into the premature telepathic maturity, becomes the run's moral and emotional detonator. Bendis' bold stroke is transforming young Jean from the demure girl member of a 1960s team into the ethical engine of the narrative. She learns telepathy early, glimpses the Phoenix shadow, and realizes, far sooner than any hero should, that her name has become a synonym for cosmic disaster. Her response is not to run from the future, but to seize as much agency as she can in the present. Bendis worked perfectly with her evolving dynamic with Cyclops. Teenage Scott admires the older Scott, even as he recoils from him. Jane, who loves both versions of Scott differently, becomes a counterweight who refuses to let romance eclipse autonomy. Their push and pull gives the run its aching heart. I also love how he used her telepathy as a character pressure. Bendis writes mind reading as the ultimate empathy. Jane knowing too much about Bobby's buried sexuality, about B's motives, about Kita's fears. Forced confrontations that the adults have avoided for years. It's sometimes messy or controversial, but dramatically electric. Running in parallel to Uncanny X-Men, also by Bendis, all new X-Men explores opposing mutant strategies through the most personal lens possible. Cyclops' revolution is less manifesto than midlife unraveling. Wolverine's school is less utopia than trash. The O5 car a third space does not exactly moderate, it's restless, idealistic, and inconsistent in precisely the ways teenagers are. That's the key. The run allows mutant politics to be argued not by the archetypes, but by kids who are figuring themselves out. Bendis also revives a crucial X-Men ingredient: public perception. Press conferences, YouTube clips, and street-level encounters scattered through the book. The world doesn't just fear and hate mutants in the abstract. It reacts to specific headlines about Scott Summers. That life and media fabric makes the O5 presence feel consequential rather than nostalgic. One of the greatest parts of this omnibus is crossover with also Bendis' Guardian of the Galaxy, the trial of Jean Grey. The Shire kidnapped Teen Jane to try her to the Phoenix genocides. On paper, it's a continuity landmine. In execution, it's one of the run's most entertaining and revealing arcs. It's fantastic to follow the guilt without sin dilemma and Teen Jane in a courtroom where narrative itself is evidence. Can the universe judge a person by their likely future? The answer is less important than watching Jane reject a fate demanded by others. I love how Kitty Pryde becomes the kid's fiercest advocate, and her chemistry with Star-Lord sees a relationship that will shape both franchises for years. Teenage Scone glimpses his cosmic heritage, Corsair and the Starjammers, and starts to imagine a life beyond the summer script, a beat that later flowers in his solo adventures outside his run. Beyond the headline arcs, the run delights in microdramas. Bobby Drake, famous for the Iceman comes out moment later in the run, gets a more textured arc than the discourse often credits him for. Joes become shields, then clues, then the setup for identity reveal that Bendis stages awkward truth-telling rather than a triumphal speech. Whether one loves or dislikes the method, Jane's telepathy reads a mind rather than waiting for a confession, the book does treat Bobby's sexuality as a part of a longer emotional pattern, not a shock twist. Kitty Pryde is the run's MVP adult. She refuses to let the O5 be exploited by either faction, and her decision to leave the Jane Grey school with the kids is a deliciously character-consistent act of principles and defiance. If Logan is the teacher who wishes he didn't have to teach, Kitty is the one who lifts the job. Bendis surely polarized readers, but in this context, his strength line up with the assignment. He writes teenagers like teenagers, headstrong, funny, evasive, and his aversion to expository dumps keeps even heavy continuity airy. The flip side, some readers will find the cadence mannered, and the decompression means certain point turns circle the runway longer than necessary. Still, when the dialogue hits, Kitty dressing down the grown-ups, Jane pushing back on the Shire, Bobby fumbling toward truth, it lands with a crack of something left. The bonus material is far from modest, but in terms of content, it doesn't bring anything groundbreaking. We get a standard extras, an enormous amount of variant covers, a section of script pages, and the usual showcase of sketches, character design, cover concepts, and panel layouts, giving us a glimpse into the creative process of all these talented artists. And that's all. All New X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus is a must-have for every fan of time travel paradoxes and the character-driven X stories polished to a blockbuster gem. If All New X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis Omnibus catch your attention, you can order your own copy in our eShop, comicsbugle.com, your friendly neighborhood comic book shop in Europe. Accept the great catalog of collected, deluxe, and absolute editions, epic collections, and omnibuses with guaranteed eco-friendly Hulkproof packaging, free shipping in whole EU, an option to pre-order your comic book now and pay for it later. You can also split full price to 4 separate payments because we know how expensive these books can be. So check it out, comicsbugle.com. You can find direct links below this video. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out any further videos. In our comment section, let us know what other books or topics would you like to see in our videos. And see ya, Bugles!